Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Algorithm Podcast. I want to introduce myself. We haven't done that in a while.
I feel like we never do that at all.
My name is Kerrigan.
Have you ever been introduced outside of the first episode that you've done, that you did?
I think I've only said my name on this podcast like 3 times. So
I don't know if I've ever said it. I don't know if I've ever said mine. Maybe like in the first few episodes. My name is Carl.
This is Carl.
Yeah.
We call him Barl.
Barl. Yes.
And I have a lot of nicknames, but just call me Kerrigan because that's my name.
Yeah.
And we are here today to talk about the infamous, creepy, like flew under the radar for so long, Golden State Killer.
What do they say? The Visalia ransacker.
Yes. He had, like, no lie, he went by like 10 different identification names because he was everywhere.
Yeah. What word am I looking for? Like caution.
Yeah.
This episode will have talks of sexual assault.
Yeah.
And just very fucked up shit.
Yes. Like, just twisted.
Yeah.
The most twisted stuff. And if you put in pictures of this guy, which I assume you will, when you look at him, at least my first thought was, there's no way this guy did it. Like, he's a shriveled up old little potato
You have to understand when he did it, though.
Right.
Like,
and when he actually got caught, he's like about to die. It's whack.
Yeah.
The whole storyline is
went on for what, 30, almost 35 years, 40 years?
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay, so let's go into the readings.
Yeah.
Joseph James D'Angelo Jr., born on November 8th, 1945, is an American serial killer, serial rapist, burglar, peeping Tom, and former police officer and mechanic who committed at least 13 murders, 51 rapes, and 120 burglaries across California between 1974 and 1986. Buddy was active.
Those numbers are actually
staggering.
Nuts.
Like Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Ish. Which I don't know if you know anything about Jack the Ripper. That'd be a really good episode.
No, but we can do that.
Yeah, unsolved.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
He is responsible for 3 known separate crime sprees throughout the state, each of which spawned a different nickname in the press before it became evident that they were committed by the same person. So during his spree, 74 to 86, this was like a bizarre serial killer height of the country. Like, this is when like serial killers were just like on the loose.
Yeah.
Who'd we have? We had Manson, Gacy, Dahmer, just it was just that time.
Yeah, right.
Bundy.
Oh.
Yeah. In San Joaquin Valley, D'Angelo was known as the Visalia ransacker from 1974 to 1976, before moving to the Sacramento area, where he became known as the East Area Rapist from 1976 to 1979, and was linked by modus operandi to additional attacks in Stockton, Modesto, and Contra Costa County. D'Angelo committed serial murders in Santa Barbara, Ventura, and Orange counties from 1979 to 1986, and was known as the Night Stalker, and later the original Night Stalker, which I was curious about that, in order to differentiate himself from Richard Ramirez, the later serial killer who also became known as the Night Stalker. Coincidentally, we just did the Cecil Hotel.
We literally just talked about the Cecil Hotel and him being the Night Stalker.
Yep.
Whack.
He is believed to have you seen what that dude looks like? Richard Ramirez?
I just looked.
He looks like a fucking vampire. Like his teeth, he looks like a vampire. He is believed to have taunted and threatened both victims and police via obscene phone calls and possibly written communications. During the decades-long investigation, several suspects were cleared through DNA evidence, alibis, or other investigative methods. In 2001, the combined acronym ERONS came into use after DNA testing and indicated that the East Area Rapist and the original Night Stalker were the same person.
Okay, so that's where Erons came from, because they were referring to him as Erons in a couple of the different things that I was like watching and reading about him, and I was like, where did that come from?
Just one big ass abbreviation.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The case is a factor in the establishment of California's DNA database. So DNA is a huge thing in this case because Buddy was just going wild in these houses.
Yeah.
The case was a factor in the establishment of California's DNA database, which collects DNA from all accused and convicted felons in California, and has been called second only to Virginia's in effectiveness in solving cold cases. In an attempt to increase awareness, crime writer Michelle McNamara coined the name Golden State Killer in early 2013.
Oh yeah, Miss McNamara.
She's an entire, like, we could talk a long time about Michelle McNamara, but she passed away due to an overdose of sleeping medicine and fentanyl. But she was like huge on bringing awareness to this case, and like she felt like she was really close to catching him.
Mm-hmm.
She was the wife of a
comedian,
but you know who it is. I can't remember what the guy's name is. He played in like a bunch of stuff. Okay. On June 15th, 2016, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, and local law enforcement agencies held a news conference.
It's that guy.
Patton Oswalt.
Patton
yeah.
Oswalt.
What did he play in?
Oh, I feel like he was in all kinds of stuff.
Like a bunch of stuff.
Parks and Recreation, Community, 2.5 Men, Drunk History, Reno 911. There's a whole list.
I listened to a sad story about the night that he found her. It was sad.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
You're good. The FBI announced... the FBI and local law enforcement agencies held a news conference to announce a renewed nationwide effort offering $50,000, a reward for the Golden State Killer's capture. On April 24th, 2018, authorities charged 72-year-old D'Angelo with 8 counts of first-degree murder based upon DNA evidence. Investigators had identified members of D'Angelo's family through forensic genetic genealogy.
That was nuts. Did you by chance watch that video of...
No, I've heard about it.
Oh my gosh. So it's not even 30 minutes long, but it's on YouTube, and they go through the whole breakdown of how they took his, not even his DNA, but like his third cousin's DNA, and just narrowed it down. And then they got his DNA off of like a door handle and
I thought it was
tissue.
A trash can.
Yeah, a tissue out of his trash can that was like freshly used, and they were like, yeah, that's him.
Yeah, which there's some controversy
around
that. And I still, because the things I've listened to, I've watched, they've been like, it's brought controversy. What would you do? And I have not been able to like make my mind up like how I feel about that.
I don't either. When I first watched it, I was like, hell yeah. And then they were like, but, and then they started going into all of the like, I don't know. It's kind of like a gray area. I don't know if it was the right move or people are upset about it or whatever. And I was like, oh,
I guess regardless, a fucking
crazy
a very
story.
evil person got caught with this. Okay, so owing to California's statute of limitations on pre-2017 rape cases, D'Angelo could not be charged with the rapes he had committed in the 1970s, but he was charged in August of 2018 with 13 related kidnapping and abduction attempts. On June 29th, 2020, that was like the height of COVID,
right?
D'Angelo pled guilty to multiple counts of murder and kidnapping. As I remember when that shit was going on.
I do remember. I think that's where I originally saw it. It blew up on social media.
Yeah.
Real big.
Yeah, because nobody was doing anything else but like true crime.
Yeah.
It was true crime, Tiger King.
Yes. Oh my gosh. We were all just locked up going crazy.
Yeah.
Jeez.
We should do like a COVID episode.
Oh my gosh, that would be so fun.
Like things that were like hit during COVID.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so fun.
Like the introduction of TikTok.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, so where was I? I'm sorry. Okay, on August 21st, 2020, D'Angelo was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Okay, so that's just basically like the synopsis, like the pre. Let's get into his early life and his career, which I didn't know this motherfucker was a police officer.
No.
Like.
And I feel every single one of these cases at some point, I'm like, when they start to get into the background of the people, I'm like, what the?
Like, why?
What?
Like, what is going on?
Yes.
Okay, Joseph James D'Angelo Jr. was born on November 18, 1945 in Bath, New York, to Kathleen K. Louise DeGros. and Joseph Dame James D'Angelo Sr., a sergeant in the U.S. Army. He was of Italian ancestry and had 2 older sisters, Connie and Rebecca, and a younger brother, John. A relative reported that when D'Angelo was a young child, he witnessed the rape of Connie by 2 airmen in a warehouse in West Germany.
Oh, wow. That's tough.
Yeah, where the family was stationed at the time. Following D'Angelo's conviction, Rebecca claimed that he was abused by their father while he was growing up. So it's all starting to make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Between 1959 and 1960, D'Angelo attended Mills Junior High School in Rancho Cordova, California. Beginning in 1961, he attended Folsom High School, from which he received a GED certificate in 1964. He played on the school's junior varsity baseball team. Prosecutors reported that D'Angelo committed burglaries, mail theft, and tortured and killed animals during his teenage years.
Okay, red flags. They always say.
Who's that? Dahmer?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
always say if you find your kid,
Killing animals.
then red flags are flying.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Which brings up the. So I think we asked this question during the Dahmer episode, and you wasn't a part of it. I'm gonna ask you, if there was testing for like toddlers and infants that puts them in a category of like there's a high percentage chance that they will be a serial killer or anything like that, what would you do?
I think as soon as my kids started showing any signs of that, I would probably opt into that testing.
Yeah.
I'm not just gonna like willy-nilly throw her in there and be like,
But
just
then
for
it's
fun,
just
let's
like
see.
you're like persecuting someone for something that they haven't done.
Right. Which I could
It's
see that
a
side of it
fucking
too.
gray area.
And it is.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would want to. Well, I guess I don't know that I would ever want to put that title on her, regardless of whatever she was showing. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
D'Angelo joined the United States Navy in September of 1964 and served for 22 months during the Vietnam War as a damage controlman on the cruiser USS Canberra and the destroyer tender USS Piedmont. Beginning in August of 1968, D'Angelo attended Sierra College in Rockland, California. He graduated with an associate's degree in police science with honors. He attended Sacramento State University in 1971, where he earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Dude was smart.
Yeah.
D'Angelo later took a postgraduate courses and further police training in the College of Sequoias in Visalia, then completed a 32-week police internship at the police department in Roseville.
Yeah.
Okay, from May 1973 to August of 1976, D'Angelo was a burglary unit police officer in Exeter, having relocated from Citrus Heights.
You're joking.
He then served in Auburn from August of 1976 to July 1979 when he was arrested for shoplifting a hammer and dog repellent. He was sentenced to 6 months of probation and fired that October. During the process of being fired, D'Angelo threatened to kill the chief of police and allegedly stalked the chief's house. Lock him up. In May of 1970, D'Angelo became engaged to nursing student Bonnie Jean Colwell, a classmate at Sierra College, but she ended the relationship in 1971 after he became manipulative and abusive, culminating in his demand that she help him cheat on an abnormal psychology test. Wow. After the breakup, he attempted to force her to marry him by threatening her with a gun.
I mean,
This guy's a piece of work.
yeah, like
Peace.
in all of the ways that he was like super smart and had a lot of potential, at the same time, just so many twisted things already presenting.
Literally a yin yang.
Yeah.
In November 1973, he married Sharon Marie Huddle of Citrus Heights, and the wedding was held in Auburn. In 1980, they purchased a house in Citrus Heights, where he eventually was arrested decades later. Huddle became a divorce attorney in 1982, and they had 3 daughters. They were born in Sacramento, and one was born in Los Angeles. Excuse me. Imagine his fucking kids
Oh,
finding out that your dad is who he is.
I just can't even imagine being put in that position, especially if it's your father.
God.
That's just so insane.
Yeah, the couple separated in 1991. In July of 2018, several months after D'Angelo's arrest, Huddle filed for a divorce. which was finalized the following year. D'Angelo committed most of the offenses while he was married and raising a family. Neither his wife nor his children ever suspected that he was committing serious crimes. His eldest daughter claimed he was the perfect father, while his wife believed his excuses for being away
Isn't that insane?
from home.
Isn't that insane?
Double life.
Like literally the definition of a double life.
Yeah.
And like the most disgusting crimes, and he just goes home to his family.
So
What?
we'll get into some of the crimes in a little bit, but this guy
Mhm.
got enjoyment. It's like he got enjoyment from the thrill of it
Yeah,
and then went back to living a normal life
like that.
like that.
Mm.
Yeah. Gosh. D'Angelo's employment history during the 1980s is unknown. From 1990 until his retirement in 2017, he worked as a truck mechanic at Save Mart Supermarket's distribution center in Roseville. He was arrested in 1996 for failing to pay for gas, but the charge was dismissed.
Mm.
D'Angelo's brother-in-law claimed that D'Angelo would casually bring up the East Area rapist in conversation around the time of the original crimes. Neighbors also reported that he would frequently engage in loud, profane outbursts. One neighbor reported that his family received a phone message from D'Angelo threatening to deliver a load of death because of their barking dog.
Yeah,
He was living with a daughter and granddaughter at the time of his arrest.
yeah. I remember hearing the story of him getting super upset about the dog barking, and he was like, "I'm gonna bring wrath on your family."
Yeah.
Like those type of outbursts.
Mhm.
Whack.
DNA evidence linked D'Angelo to 8 murders in Goleta, Ventura, Dana Point, and Irving. 2 other murders in Goleta lacking DNA evidence were linked by modus operandi. D'Angelo pleaded guilty to 3 other murders, 2 in Ranchero Cordova and 1 in Visalia. He also committed more than 50 known rapes in the California counties of Sacramento, Contra Costa, Stanislaus, San Joaquin, Alameda, Santa Clara, and Yolo. He was also linked to hundreds of incidents of thefts, burglaries, vandalism, peeping, stalking, and prowling.
And he just went home to his wife and his 3 kids.
Like normal. Yep.
Whack.
So from 1974 to 1976, his alias was the Visalia Ransacker. So we'll
Yes.
talk a little bit about that. It was long suspected that the training ground of the criminal who became the East Area rapist was Visalia. Visalia. The Visalia Ransacker. Okay, I don't know why I just said Visalia. Earlier Visalia crimes dating back as early as May 1973 and other sprees like of that of the Cordova cat burglar and the Exeter Ransacker,
Mm.
as well as the Visalia burglaries that took place after shooting of Detective William McGovern, are now suspected to be linked also. Over a period of 20 months, D'Angelo is believed to have been responsible for 1 murder and around 120 burglaries. 120.
20.
120. That's astronomical.
And that's all in the same area.
Yeah, that's
like-
astronomical. Like, nobody's seen this guy?
Yeah. Nobody
Like-
could identify him. And I get it with the times, maybe.
Yeah, no phones, less security footage, no
But-
DNA.
Man, like 120 in one area is a lot.
Yeah. At what point do cops just start staking out for this guy?
Yeah.
In late April 2018, the Visalia chief of police stated that while there was no DNA linking D'Angelo to the Central Valley cases, his department had other evidence that played a role in the investigation, and he was confident that the Visalia ransacker had been captured. Though the statutes of limitations for burglaries have been expired, D'Angelo was formally charged on August 13th, 2018 with the first-degree murder of Claude Snelling in 1975. In 2020, D'Angelo pleaded guilty to the Snelling murder.
Mm.
The first recorded ransacking occurred on March 19th, 1974, when a sum of $50 in coins was stolen from a piggy bank. Of course.
Which I remember them saying, like, he would just do the most, like, random things. Like,
Petty
he didn't,
shit.
Yeah, like, he didn't go in there and, like, he had his eyes set on one big prize or one super valuable thing that was going to make him a lot of money. He would, like,
He did it for the thrill. That was
yes,
it.
he would, like, take all of the women's underwear out of their drawer and, like, throw it all over their room.
Right.
Like, that kind of stuff, which is,
Toddler shit.
yes.
Petty. Yeah.
Like, you're going in there and you're throwing a temper tantrum.
My toddler is the pettiest person in the world.
It's
so
so crazy.
Yeah. Most of the ransacker's activities involved breaking into houses, rifling through and vandalizing the owner's possessions, scattering women's underclothes,
Yes.
and stealing a range of low-value items while often ignoring banknotes and higher-valued items in plain sight. The ransacker would also often arrange or display items in the house. Petty.
Like,
He's
haha.
like, you know what? Your flower pot, I'm putting it over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Items emptied included piggy banks and coin jars, and stolen items often included blue chip stamps, foreign or historic coins, and personal items such as single earrings, cufflinks, rings, or medallions, but also included 6 weapons and various types of ammunition.
Mm.
Multiple same-day ransackings were common as well, including 12 separate incidents on November 30th, 1974.
Whoa.
Dude took a line of coke and was like, I'm robbing every
Yeah.
house on the block.
Watch me.
like,
Like jumping fences, like
Yeah.
back to back to back.
yeah. Common characteristics of the burglaries included climbing fences, and moving through established routes such as parks, walkways, ditches, and trails. Like you can picture this guy doing
Yes.
this.
Yes.
Attempting to pry open multiple points of entry, particularly windows. Leaving multiple points of escape open, especially windows as well as the house, garage, and garden doors.
So it's so much DNA. He's like, well, they said that he wore gloves, but
He's still
in
it's
any
hair,
slip up, there's stuff
it's everything.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Moving removed window screens onto beds or into bedrooms, placing warning items such as dishes or bottles against doors and on door handles, wearing gloves, giving the absence of fingerprint evidence.
Okay, at least he was wearing gloves.
Right.
Because if he's acting this stupid and doing such silly things, at least he wasn't leaving his fingerprints everywhere. But there's still other things.
Yeah. On September 11th, 1975, D'Angelo broke into the home of Claude Snelling, who was 45. Snelling, a journalism professor at the College of Sequoia, had previously chased a prowler discovered under his 16-year-old daughter's bedroom window around 10 p.m. on February 5th, 1975. On September 11th, he was awakened around 2 a.m. by strange noises. Upon leaving his bedroom, Snelling ran through the open back door and confronted a ski-masked intruder in his carport, attempting to kidnap his daughter, who had been subdued with threats of being stabbed or shot. Snelling was then shot twice, staggered back into the house to his wife, and later died. That's sad.
Yeah.
After the shooting, the assailant punched and kicked the daughter, leaving her on the ground, and fled the scene. A stolen bicycle tied to the assailant was found nearby at 615 Redwood Street. After the murder, Beth Snelling, who was 16, underwent hypnosis in order to gather further details. The Visalia police also committed more resources to apprehending the ransacker, and a $4,000 reward was posted. Nighttime stakeouts were set up near houses that had previously prowled, but the ransackings continued. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Around 8:30 p.m. on December 12, 1975, a masked man entered the backyard of a house at 1505 West Kaweah Avenue, near where the ransacker had been reported to frequent. When Detective William McGowan, on stakeout inside the garage, attempted to detain the man, the suspect shrieked, removed his mask, and feigned surrender after the McGowan fired a warning shot. However, after jumping the fence to the house at 1501, he also pulled out a revolver with his left hand and fired once near McGowan's face, shattering the flashlight. Nearby officers rushed to aid McGowan, and the shooter was able to escape.
Oh.
Close fucking encounters, man.
Mm.
Items collected as evidence included the flashlight, tennis shoe tracks, and dropped loot, namely blue chip stamps and a sock full of coins.
Mm. I didn't know any of that. That's super interesting.
Super detailed, too.
Yeah.
Okay, his time as the East Area Rapist from 1976 to 1979. D'Angelo moved to Sacramento area in 1976, where his crimes escalated from burglary to rape. The crimes initially centered on the then unincorporated areas of Carmichael, Citrus Heights, and Ranchero Cordova east of Sacramento. His initial modus operandi was to stalk middle-class neighborhoods at night in search of women who were alone in one-story homes, usually near a school, creek, trail, or other open space that would provide a quick escape. He was seen a number of times but always successfully fled. On one occasion, he shot and seriously wounded a young pursuer. Most victims had seen or heard the prowler on their property before the attacks, and many had experienced break-ins. Police believe that the offender would conduct extensive
That's a big word.
reconnaissance
Mm.
in a targeted neighborhood, looking into windows and prowling in yards, before selecting a home to attack. It was believed that he sometimes entered the homes of future victims to unlock windows, unload guns, and plant ligatures for later use. He frequently telephoned future victims, sometimes for months in advance, to learn their daily routines.
Stalker.
Yeah.
Stalker.
Although D'Angelo originally targeted women alone in their homes or with children, he eventually preferred attacking couples. This change in modus operandi is believed to be a direct result of media reports claiming he only attacked women alone in their home. His usual method was to break in through a window or sliding glass door and awaken the sleeping occupants with a flashlight, threatening them with a handgun. Victims were subsequently bound with ligatures, often shoelaces that he found or brought with him, then blindfolded and gagged them with towels that he had ripped into strips. The female victim was usually forced to tie up her male companion before she was bound. The bindings were often so tight that the victim's hands were numb for hours after being untied. He then separated the couple, often stacking dishes on the male's back and threatening to kill everyone in the house if he heard them rattle. He would then move the female to the living room and rape her, often again and again.
Yeah.
A decade later, police reported that D'Angelo repeatedly said, "I hate you, Bonnie," during a 1978 rape, the 1937th attack.
Mhm.
D'Angelo sometimes spent hours in the home ransacking closet drawers, eating food in the kitchen, drinking beer, raping the women again, or making additional threats. Victims sometimes thought he had left the house before he jumped from the darkness.
Yeah.
Dude would just hang out
Yeah.
in the house.
He would just like make himself at home, be, like comfortable where he was, eating their food, touching their things, and then he would go back and assault the woman again, and then would go on his merry way. Like, it really was just for like the thrill of it.
Yep.
And knowing that probably he had that power over the male who was tied up and couldn't move. And
Yeah.
just so sick.
So I heard something about this dude. I heard the women, this is funny. I heard the women proclaim that he had like tiny dicks.
Yes. A small little weenie.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's like a power trip.
A power trip, right.
Yeah.
And I heard that. I said, well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay, the Maggiore murders. I hope I pronounced that right. A young Sacramento couple, 21-year-old Brian Keith Maggiore, a military policeman at the Mather Air Force Base, and his 20-year-old wife, Katie Lee Maggiore, were walking their dog in the Rancho Cordova area on the night of February 2nd, 1978, near where 5 East area rapist attacks had occurred. The Maggiores fled after a confrontation in the street but were chased down and shot to death. Some investigators suspected that they had been murdered by the East area rapist because of their proximity to the other attacks locations, and a shoelace was found nearby.
Which, like, shoelaces of all things. Like, you
Yeah.
would think it would be something more, but I guess shoelaces would probably be the easiest to, like, pack away on himself.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
The FBI announced on June 15th, 2016 that it was confident that the East area rapist had murdered the Maggiores. On June 29th, 2020, D'Angelo entered a plea of guilty to these murders.
Jeez.
Yeah. Okay, so from 1979 to 1986, he was known as the original Night Stalker, not to get mixed up with Richard Ramirez.
Right.
Shortly after the rape committed on July 5th, 1979, D'Angelo moved to Southern California and began killing his victims, first striking in Santa Barbara County in October. The attacks lasted until 1981 with a lone 1986 attack. Only the couple in the first attack survived, alerting neighbors and forcing the intruder to flee. The other victims were murdered by gunshot or bludgeoning. Since D'Angelo was not linked to these crimes for decades, he was known as the Night Stalker in the area, before being renamed the original Night Stalker after serial killer Richard Ramirez received the former nickname. Before officially connecting the original Night Stalker to the East area rapist in 2001, some law enforcement officials, particularly from the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department, sought to link the Goleta cases as well. The links were primarily due to similarities in modus operandi. One of the already linked original Night Stalker double murders occurred in Ventura, 40 miles southeast of Goleta, and the remaining murders were committed in Orange County, an additional 90 miles southeast. In 2001, several rapes in Contra Costa County, believed to have been committed by the East Area rapist, were linked by DNA to the Smith, Harrington, Withen, and Cruz murders. A decade later, DNA evidence indicated that the Domingo Sanchez murders were also committed by the East Area rapist, also identified as the Golden State Killer.
It's so crazy to watch all of the dots start to connect when they yes, to narrow everything down it was wild.
Yep. Okay. On June 15th, 2016, the FBI released further information related to the crimes, including new composite sketches and crime details. A $50,000 reward and was also announced. The initiative included a national database to support law enforcement's investigating of the crimes and to handle tips and information. Take a drink.
I'm joking.
Okay. Eventually, through the use of genetic genealogy, searching on GED Match, investigators identified distant relatives of D'Angelo. Are you straight?
No, I'm fighting for my life.
Oh, R. Kelly, I'm fighting for my fucking life.
It's fine.
All right. Investigators identified distant relatives of D'Angelo, including family members directly related to his great grandfather, dating back to the 1800s.
Isn't that nuts?
Holy shit.
Like the family tree that they dove into, and it wasn't even directly with his DNA, it was like distant family, was crazy.
Based on this information, investigators built about 25 different family trees. The tree that eventually linked D'Angelo alone contained approximately 1,000 people. God.
1,000 people.
What is that shit called? Ancestry.com?
Yes, there's with 23andMe, and then what was the other one? It was like I don't remember what the other one was, but that's how they got links to all those people.
Insane. Over the course of a few months, investigators used other clues like age, sex, and place of residence to rule out suspects populating these trees, eliminating suspects one by one until only D'Angelo remained.
Crazy steps for the freaking like investigators and stuff like that.
Yeah, you want to know how they got that hunch to go get some DNA from the trash can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Identification of D'Angelo began in December of 2017 when officials led by Detective Paul Holes and FBI lawyer Steve Kramer uploaded the killer's DNA profile from a Ventura County rape kit to the personal genomics website GED Match. The website identified 10 to 20 people who had the same great-great-great-grandparents as the Golden State Killer. A team of 5 investigators working with genealogist Barbara Ray Venter used this list to construct a large family tree. From this tree, they established 2 suspects. One was ruled out by a relative's DNA test, leaving D'Angelo as the main suspect.
Telling you, the breakdown of that was so crazy to watch.
God, like...
just so many people that are so distant from him, and to like, they took it by like what they knew about his age, where he lived, the like statue, like how tall he was, how much he weighed, all of that stuff, and they narrowed it down to like 5 people.
Can you imagine like being one of the detectives and like you're like that close, and then you just start going boom, 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 and then he's left.
They said it came down to like 5 investigations, and by narrowing it down through that, they were like, all right, let's take our chances, and then they went and took his DNA unbeknownst to him, and then there he was.
Yeah, on April 18th, 2018, a DNA sample was surreptitiously.
Whoa.
Surreptitiously. I've never even seen that word.
I've never seen that word in my life.
I consider myself somewhat of an intellectual. I've never seen that word ever. A sample was surreptitiously collected from the door handle of D'Angelo's car. Another sample was later collected from a tissue found in D'Angelo's curbside garbage can.
Wild.
Both were matched to samples associated with Golden State Killer crimes. Since D'Angelo's arrest, some commentators have raised concerns about the ethics of the secondary use of personally identifiable information, what we were talking about earlier.
Right.
During the investigation, several people were considered and later eliminated as suspects. Okay, Brett Gatsby from Goleta was considered a suspect by Santa Barbara County investigators. He was murdered in Mexico in 1982 before the murder of Janelle Cruz, eliminating him as a suspect. Paul Cornfed Schneider, high-ranking member of the Aryan Brotherhood, was living in Orange County when the Harringtons, Manuela Withen, and Janelle Cruz were killed. A DNA test cleared him in the 1990s. Joe Alsip, a friend business partner of victim Lyman Smith. Alsip's pastor said that Alsip had confessed to him during the family's counseling session. Alsip was arraigned for the Smith murders in 1982, but the charges were later dropped, and his innocence was confirmed by DNA testing. Okay. The arrest, trial, and incarceration. On the evening of April 24th, 2018, Sacramento County Sheriff's deputies arrested D'Angelo in the side yard of his Sacramento home. Imagine just being out there mowing the grass or some shit.
For
They're like,
real.
you know what, bro? You're under arrest for murdering 13 people.
Can you imagine like what went through his head when they pulled up and they were like, "We got you."
His tiny dick shriveled all the way up.
Yeah.
Like all the way up. He was charged with 8 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances. On May 10th, the Santa Barbara County District Attorney's Office charged D'Angelo with 4 additional counts of first-degree murder. D'Angelo made a confession of sorts after his arrest that cryptically referred to an interpersonality named Jerry. That makes sense. Who had forced him to commit the wave of crimes that ended abruptly in 1986.
Okay. I didn't know that he...
Double life makes sense.
Yeah.
Split personalities.
Yeah.
According to Sacramento County Prosecutor Dean Ho, D'Angelo had said the following to himself while alone in a police interrogation room after his arrest in April 2018, and I quote, "I didn't have the strength to push him out. He made me. He went with me. It was like in my head. I mean, he's a part of me. I didn't want to do those things. I pushed Jerry out and had a happy life. I did all of those things. I destroyed all of their lives, so now I've got to pay the price." Wild.
So
That's
many
deep.
lives.
That's
Yeah.
very deep. Detectives ignored D'Angelo's initial request to speak to an attorney, later citing a legal theory that this potential Miranda violation would be justified, with the understanding that prosecutors could not use the interview against the defendant in court. D'Angelo could not be charged with rapes or burglaries, as the statute of limitations had expired for those offenses, but he was charged with 13 counts of murder and 13 counts of kidnapping. D'Angelo was arraigned in Sacramento on August 23rd, 2018. In November of 2018, prosecutors from 6 involved counties collectively estimated that the case could cost taxpayers $20 million in the last 10 years.
Wow.
Fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
At an April 10th, 2019 court proceeding, prosecutors announced that they would seek the death penalty, and the judge ruled that the cameras could be allowed inside the courtroom during the trial. Which I never watched any of that. I'd like to watch some of that.
Yeah.
On March 4th, 2020, D'Angelo offered to plead guilty if the death penalty were taken off the table, which was not accepted at the time. On June 29th, as part of a plea bargain to avoid the death penalty, D'Angelo pleaded guilty to 13 counts of first-degree murder in special circumstances, including murder committed during burglaries and rapes, as well as 13 counts of kidnapping. On August 21st, 2020, D'Angelo received multiple consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. D'Angelo offered a brief apology after listening to days of pre-sentencing victim impact statements.
Those are so hard to watch and listen to. I mean, I was sitting there sobbing, listening to those women tell their stories. was awful. And like they would always pan over to him and he's sitting there just like stone faced, staring ahead, not saying anything. And I was like, it made me so sick. Awful.
He said, and I quote, "I've listened to all of your statements, each one of them, and I'm truly sorry to everyone I've hurt." In November of 2020, D'Angelo was transferred to the North Kern State Prison. As of February 2021, D'Angelo was incarcerated in protective custody at California State Prison in Corcoran.
So crazy. This entire story is like from start to finish just so gross.
Dude was I'm not justifying anything this motherfucker did. He deserves everything that he got and is getting to him. I'm not justifying anything, but he was fucked up as a kid.
Yeah.
And all of these serial killers, all of these fucked up people have the same pattern
Yeah.
of being fucked up as kids.
And it usually starts with like an abusive parent or an abusive like home life.
Yeah.
And then it just like spirals from there. That is so, it's so sad.
Yeah. Okay. And that is all we got for today for the Golden State Killer. Our next episode. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not revealing that anymore because anything can switch.
Just
Stay tuned for the
How about
next
that?
episode. Subscribe to the YouTube. You got anything else?
No, I'm already excited for the next episode though.
Yep, same. See you guys.